Can you vacuum seal kale? Yes. You can vacuum seal kale. This is a great way to keep your kale fresh for a more extended period. Vacuum sealing kale will also help keep the kale from getting brown and wilted. Also, vacuum sealing kale will keep it from drying out and allow it to last for weeks in the fridge. In this guide, we'll cover everything you need to know about vacuum sealing kale, how long it will stay fresh, and the best way to store it. So keep reading. How long will sealed kale stay fresh? Sealed kale will last in the fridge for 3 to 5 weeks and in the freezer for up to 9 months. Moreover, the answer to this question depends on many factors, including how the kale was sealed and what type of kale it is. Kale lasts longer if it's sealed or in a plastic bag, slowing down its ability to absorb moisture. If you want your kale to last as long as possible, store it in a cool, dry place, and it's best to keep it in the refrigerator or a cooler. Can you vacuum seal cooked kale? Yes. You can vacuum seal cooked kale. If you are going to vacuum seal cooked kale, make sure that it is completely dry first. If any moisture is left on the leaves, they will not be able to be sealed in the bag. You also need to ensure that no air gets into the bag when sealing it. If there is any air in the bag when you try to seal it, you will have trouble getting a good seal, and your kale may spoil before you get a chance to use it. Food Saver Vacuum Sealer Machine. Food stays fresh for up to 5x longer than ordinary storage methods, preventing freezer burn. Learn more. Can you vacuum seal kale without blanching? Yes. You can vacuum seal kale without blanching. But there's a catch. You need to use a method that doesn't require blanching. The traditional blanching of kale doesn't improve the texture. It just makes it easier to cut and prepare. The easiest way to vacuum seal kale is by using frozen kale. Because it's already been cooked, you can simply defrost it and vacuum seal it without further preparation. However, if you're using fresh kale, you'll need to cook it before vacuum sealing it. This will ensure that the leaves are soft enough to be easily broken down when you're ready to prepare them for eating. Blanching is a process that involves plunging vegetables into boiling water for a few minutes and then plunging them into ice water. Hence, they stop cooking, which helps to preserve nutrients and color. It also makes it easier for you to remove tough stems from kale leaves. Is it better to vacuum seal whole heads of kale or individual leaves? Vacuum sealing is a great way to keep your food fresh. But you may wonder if it's better to seal whole heads of kale or individual leaves. There are pros and cons to both methods. Sealing whole heads of kale can help them last longer, but individual leaves will be easier to use when you're ready to eat them. Ultimately, the decision comes down to personal preference. While some believe that vacuum sealing entire heads of kale preserves more nutrients and flavor, others argue that sealing individual leaves is the most effective way. Ultimately, the best way to determine if vacuum sealing whole heads of kale is the right choice depends on a few factors, including what kind of kale you are preserving and your specific kitchen setup. How much air should be removed from the bag before sealing? Generally, 15 to 20% of the air in the bag should be removed before sealing. When vacuum sealing kale, removing as much air from the bag as possible before sealing is essential. This will help keep the kale fresher and prevent freezer burn. The amount of air that should be removed from the bag before sealing it depends on the type of bag being used. If using a vacuum-sealed bag, All air should be removed before sealing. Using a zipper-sealed bag. You should remove only enough air to seal the bag without compressing the contents. Read also. Can you vacuum seal lettuce? Can you vacuum seal and freeze fresh kale? You can vacuum seal and freeze fresh kale. Kale is a leafy green vegetable that is very nutritious and has been used in many different recipes. The process of vacuum sealing and freezing fresh kale is relatively simple. First, wash the kale thoroughly with cold water. Then pat dry with a clean towel before placing it into your sealer bag and any other foods that may be going into the same bag for freezing purposes, such as berries. Once all of your food items are inside the bag, press down on them gently until there are no air pockets left inside of the bag. This will ensure that there is no extra oxygen inside of the bag when it's sealed.